Good morning, Way Academy. Welcome back for week 2 of Virtual Dear. It was nice to see that there are more views of the videos and that people are following along at home in their books or here online as we found a copy of the text available to us while we are out of school. On Friday, we ended at a very significant chapter. Chapter 8 is pivotal to The Hate U Give, as this was the day of Khalil's funeral. And there were a lot of emotional events. If you were not able to listen in on Friday, make sure to go back and listen, as Chapter 8 was a very pivotal moment. Part of which, as we know, there were a number of people wearing T-shirts supporting Khalil, reflecting that they want to be part of that larger movement against injustice. Speaking of justice, we know that April Ofra spoke at the funeral. She is a member of Justice for Just Us, and we'll find out more about that in this chapter as that takes off a little more. If you did not go back and research Emmett Till, remember we discussed how Khalil's open casket echoed the history with Emmett Till. That's a real world reference. Emmettill. So when we're done with today's reading, if you still haven't checked out Emmett Till, I strongly encourage you to do so. And the last thing I just want to comment on, we know Stark continues to struggle with her identity, feeling like she's betraying her race, and was she betraying Khalil by being dating with Chris? And we'll continue to see that unfold as we move forward, and Star struggles to find her voice. So here we are, Chapter 9 of The Hate U Give, page 91 for those of you following along here. For those of you lucky enough to have a copy of the book at home, you're on page 136. My brother's come home with a message. Daddy's spending the night at the store. He also leaves instructions for us to stay inside. So remember, they've gone to this protest march, and now Daddy's decided to spend at the store. A chain link fence surrounds our house. Seven puts the big lock on the gate, the one we use when we go out of town. I bring Bricks inside. Who's Bricks again? That's right, he's their pet. He's their pet, their bulldog pet. Or not bulldog, but pit bull. Sorry, pit bull pet. He doesn't know how to act walking around in circles and jumping on the furniture. Mama doesn't say anything until he gets on her good sofa in the living room. Aye, she snaps, her fingers at him. Get your big behind off my furniture. You crazy? He whimpers and scurries over to me. The sun sets. We're in the middle of saying grace over pot roast and potatoes when the first gunshots ring out. We open our eyes. Sakani flinches. I'm used to gunshots, but these are louder, faster. One barely sounds off before another's right behind it. Machine gun, says Seven. More shots follow. Take your dinner to the den, Mama says, getting up from the table, and sit on the floor. Bullets don't know where they're supposed to go. So she's trying to get them away from windows. Seven gets up too. Ma, I can't. Seven, den, she says. But Seven, she breaks his name down. I'm turning the lights off, baby, okay? Please go to the den. He gives in. All right. When Daddy isn't home, Seven acts like he's the man of the house by default. Mama always has to break his name down and put him in his place. I grab my plate and Mama's and head for the den, the one room without exterior walls. Bricks is right behind me, but he always follows food. The hallway darkens as Mama turns off the lights throughout the house. We have one of those old school big screen TVs in the den. It's Daddy's prized possession. We crowd around it and Seven turns on the news, lighting up the den. There are at least 100 people gathered on Magnolia Avenue. They chant for justice and hold signs and fists high in the air for Black power. Mama comes in, talking on the phone. All right, Miss Pearl, as long as you're sure. Just remember, we got enough room over here for you if you don't feel comfortable being alone. I'll check in later. Nice to see community reaching out and helping others in this time of uncertainty. Mrs. Pearl is the elderly lady who lives by herself across the street. Mama checks on her all the time. She says Mrs. Pearl needs to know that somebody cares. Mama sits next to me. Sakani rests his head in her lap. Bricks mimics him and puts his head in my lap, licking my fingers. Are they mad because Khalil died? Sakani asks. Mama brushes her fingers through his high-top fade. Yeah, baby, we all are. But they're really mad that Khalil was unarmed. Can't be a coincidence this is happening after Miss Ofra announced it at the funeral. The cops respond to the chants with tear gas that blankets the crowd in a white cloud. The news cuts to footage instead. Inside of the crowd, the people have okay. The news cuts to footage inside the crowd of people running and screaming. If you think back to the picture, a few of our students, Ren Clayton and Jeremiah Crumper, they drew a pretty powerful illustration of this exact scene. The cops respond to the chants with tear gas. So that picture where they're wearing the masks, this is where that all comes together. Damn, Seven says. Sakani buries his face in Mama's thigh. I feed Bricks a piece of my pot roast. The clenching in my stomach won't let me eat. Sirens wail outside. The news shows three patrol cars that have been set ablaze at the police precinct, about a 5-minute drive away from us. So there's a riot breaking out, setting fire to police cars. A gas station near the freeway gets looted. Looted referring to people going in and stealing, or looting, taking without paying. And the owner, this Indian man, staggers around, bloody, saying he didn't have anything to do with Khalil's death. A line of cops guard the Walmart on the east side. My neighborhood is a war zone. Chris texts to see if I'm okay, and I immediately feel like crap for avoiding him, Beyonceing him and everything else. I would apologize, but texting I'm sorry combined with every emoji in the world isn't the same as saying it face to face. I do let him know I'm okay, though. Maya and Haley called, asking about the store, the house, my family, me. Neither of them mentioned the fried chicken drama. It's weird talking to them about Garden Heights. We never do. I'm always afraid one of them will call it the ghetto. So again, that dueling identity struggle that she's going through. I get it. Garden Heights is the ghetto, so it wouldn't be a lie. But it's like when I was 9 and 7, I got into one of our fights. He went for a low blow and called me Shorty McShort. A lame insult, now when I think about it, but it tore me up back then. I remember my brothers teasing me and calling me Little Miss Perfect from time to time. That got under my skin, sort of like Shorty McShort. I knew there was a possibility I was short. Everybody else was taller than I was, and I could call myself short if I wanted. It became an uncomfortable truth when 7 said it. I can call Garden Heights the ghetto all I want. Nobody else can. Mama stays in her phone too, checking on some neighbors and getting calls from others who are checking in on us. Miss Jones down the street says that she and her 4 kids are holed up in their den like we are, so sheltering from the gunfire. Mr. Charles next door says that if the power does go out, we can use his generator. Uncle Carlos checks in on us too. Nana takes the phone and tells Mama to bring us out there, like we're about to go through the stuff to get out of it. Daddy calls and says the store is all right. It doesn't stop me from tensing up every time the news mentions a businessman or a business that's been attacked. So although Maverick is guarding the store and giving the family updates, when you see those headlines on the news, sometimes you're not sure. So anxiety is high. The news does more than give Khalil's name now. They show his picture too. They only call me the witness, sometimes the 16-year-old black female witness. The police chief appears on screen and says what I was afraid he'd say. We have taken into consideration the evidence as well as the statement given by the witness, and as of now, we see no reason to arrest the officer. So the officer is about to be free of any charges against killing Khalil. Mama and 7 glance at me. They don't say anything with Sakani right here. They don't have to. All of this is my fault. The riots, gunshots, tear gas, all of it are ultimately my fault. I forgot to tell the cops that Khalil got out with his hands up. I didn't mention that the officer pointed his gun at me. I didn't say something right. And now that cop's not getting arrested, so she's blaming herself for not using her voice. But while the riots are my fault, the news basically makes it sound like it's Khalil's fault he died. There are multiple reports that a gun was found in the car, the anchor claims. There is also suspicion that the victim was a drug dealer as well as a gang member. Officials have not confirmed if any of this is true. The gun stuff can't be true. When I asked Khalil if he had anything in the car, he said no. He also wouldn't say if he was a drug dealer or not, and he didn't even mention the gang banging stuff. Does it matter though? He didn't deserve to die. Sakani and Brick start breathing deeply around the same time, fast asleep. That's not an option for me with the helicopters, the gunshots, the sirens. Mama and Seven stay up too. Around 4 in the morning, when it's quieted down, Daddy comes in, bleary eyed and yawning. They didn't hit Marigold, he says, between bites of pot roast at the kitchen table. Looks like they're keeping it mostly on the east side, near where he was killed. For now, at least. For now, Mama repeats. Daddy runs his hand over his face. Yeah, I don't know what's going to stop them from coming this way. As much as I understand it, I dread it if they do. We can't stay here, Maverick, she says, and her voice is shaky, like she's been holding something in this entire time and is just now letting it out. This won't get better. It'll get worse. Daddy reaches for her hand. She lets him take it, and he pulls her onto his lap. Daddy wraps his arm around her and kisses her back of her head. We'll be all right. He sends me and Seven to bed. Somehow, I fall asleep. Unfortunately, that night, as we can see by the change to italics, Star is having a dream. So we're about to hear about her dream. Natasha runs into the store again. Star, come on. Her braids have dirt in them, and her face and her once fat cheeks are sunken. Blood soaks through her clothes. I step back. She runs up to me and grabs my hand. Hers feels icy, like it did in her coffin. Come on, she tugs at me. Come on. She pulls me toward the door, and my feet move against my will. Stop, I say. Natasha, stop. A hand extends through the door, holding a Glock. Bang. I jolt awake. So, pretty nasty nightmare to have when there's gunshots going around. We're just coming up to the end of our 15-minute timer, so I'm going to pause for now. I will queue up the next set of pages, and there'll be another 15-minute session posted for you. Thank you for following along. We'll find out more of what's happening in this war zone in a few minutes.